What's going on, dudes and dudettes? So, yes, of course, it's already December 1st recording this video, but the next video, you will not see the beard and stash and all that, so enjoy it while it lasts. But, yes, when it comes to USC and their defensive coordinator search, I believe we talked about in the last video yesterday about Tony White, the Nebraska Cornhusker coach, and of course a lot of things were trending that he was going to become the defensive coordinator for USC, and even like some recruits in high school were saying that it was maybe going to be him, or that they believed that he was going to be coming to USC as the DC, but turns out that he just re-signed and upped his salary from $1 million to $1.6 million up there in Nebraska to stay with the team at least for one more year. So I don't know if he was just maybe using USC to get that little bit of bump up, and if USC wasn't able to match that or get a little bit over, or maybe they just didn't want to be in a bidding war because some of those other schools are a bit more desperate to pump out more money to keep players or coaches around, just because that's pretty much all they got, and USC could probably move on to someone better, more well-known, and still probably get the job done. But he was, highly regarded in not only being able to turn around that Nebraska team in the year or so that he's been there, but also on the recruiting front as well, which I'm pretty sure that's why USC was interested in him, but they still have a lot of more guys to look at and opportunities to sign other people, so we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, definitely coming down to the wire here, because we were kind of expecting an announcement by now, but looks like we're going to still have to wait. And I want to say it was yesterday as well. I believe the doctors and medical staff at USC has pretty much cleared Bronny James for 100% full contact and full practice and all that stuff, and he's expected to return at some point soon, which is nice because he has been semi-practicing here and there before and after games, and I'm sure in certain practices throughout the week at USC with the basketball team. But now it's pretty much official and he's a full go, which is cool. It is kind of weird that once that news came out, then LeBron pretty much said that even if the Lakers are playing a game the same day as Bronny will be playing his son, then he is going to miss that game officially just so he could go do that, which I guess when you're one of those big time type of players historically, then I guess you could do stuff like that even with an organization like the Lakers. But hoping that Bronny does a smart thing and tries to do it when the Lakers are still home and not on the road and all this stuff, and be able to make it easier, because if he misses one game, depending if there's a back-to-back on the road or something like that, then it probably means he's going to miss 2 games, LeBron. So hoping that doesn't end up happening, but get into how they did against Oklahoma City later in this video. But a couple more people entered the transfer portal from both of my teams. Start off with USC. They did lose another running back in Darwin Barlow. Obviously, these players aren't technically lost officially. They're just entering their name in there so they could get contacted officially by schools and stuff, even though I'm sure there's tampering going on and schools have already contacted people or back channels and all this stuff. That's why all of a sudden some guys are already committed even before the signing period starts. I think it's December 4th, something like that, next Monday coming up. But yeah, it's tough to see him go because it kind of depletes a lot of USC's veteran running backs. I mean, if Marshawn Lloyd comes back, then that's a positive for them. But right now they just have 2 guys who are freshmen that didn't get much playing time, so you'll have them as sophomores next year. And then you have another incoming freshman from this recruiting class in Brian Jackson. I don't know if they have someone else, or let's say Marshawn Lloyd does end up going to the NFL as well, then you're probably going to have to go into the transfer portal and look for someone there, which isn't bad, but hopefully it doesn't piss off any of those younger guys and make them want to go somewhere else. But either way, I still think they have a lot of talent. Usually with Lincoln Riley, they're going to throw more than run the ball, but I still think you need to have talented guys back there. So we'll see. And then Duke had to see an edge player in R.J. Oben, who's recently one of their better defensive line seniors and older players out there, but he still has one more year left and decided to enter the transfer portal. Obviously, it'd be cool for him to jump over to my other team in USC because they definitely need some more defensive line help. But I don't know. He seems like he's a pretty good overall solid player, so he's going to have a lot of suitors. So he'll probably end up somewhere good, but hoping it's going to be USC. And the USC Football X account pretty much put out a post congratulating Reggie Bush on being named to the 2023 college football not Heisman, but like Hall of Fame, which is cool. I thought this news was already known that he was going to be in there unless it was not official yet or something like that. But either way, it's a cool accomplishment, and hopefully it's a step back for him to try to get his Heisman back officially and being able to have his number retired officially at USC. It still is technically, but they took it off like the part of the stadium where they have retired jerseys and all that stuff. So hoping they will be able to do a lot more of that stuff. I don't know why they're scared of the NCAA, because it seems like everybody else is able to do stuff to the NCAA and just get slaps on the wrist. But when it comes to USC, they're too afraid to do anything, which sucks. But hoping for the best. And then Caleb Williams was named a finalist or semifinalist for the Manning Award watch list, which I'm assuming goes out to the top quarterback because it's named after a Manning. But either way, we'll see if he ends up winning any of these postseason awards for having, record-wise, not a good year, but numbers-wise, he was still pretty close to his Heisman year last year. But like they always say, it always kind of more depends on your wins and losses. I've seen like RG3 and even Johnny Manziel, they've kind of won their Heismans when their team wasn't undefeated or as good, but they did have some pretty big wins to kind of end the season to help them out. But either way, we'll see what ends up happening with him. And I believe it's CBS Sports kind of did their own projection of the college football bowl games, and I believe they had USC playing against Maryland in Vegas, which is a pretty interesting matchup because they're pretty bad on defense, so USC should be able to score, but their offense is pretty good and they can score quite a bit too, so it could be a nice up and down game, sadly, just because of how USC's defense is, and never know how many more guys went to the transfer portal at some point from here until then. But we'll see how it goes. A lot of interesting matchups that they could end up in, just hoping that it's not like that El Paso one, because I don't think you could really get a good matchup out there. And I remember the last time, I think it was the last time they played like Georgia Tech out there, and it was just horrible windy weather and rainy weather, and they lost that game, I'm sure, and it was just bad overall. So hoping not for El Paso, please. And a 4-star defensive lineman, Carlon Jones, was recently committed to Nebraska, but then had decommitted recently. And on X, I had put up, like, I reposted it and put like a fight on. I usually do that with players I hope would be interested in USC, but a lot of times it usually doesn't come to fruition or they don't pay attention. But this guy has already set up an official visit to USC, and I thought that might have been kind of more of the fact that his defensive coordinator from Nebraska would be going to USC, but I think it just happened like recently, so it could have been that he thought he was still coming or not, so we don't know officially if he still will be having his official visit or not. But he is a recruit, so a high school guy, so it's good to have those 4-star guys interested in you. At least he's going to be taking a visit, hopefully, at some point, whether it is his maybe defensive coordinator coach or not. And then when it comes to the Big Ten, within the next couple years, they're going to have like 18 teams. They used to have 10, obviously, but they expanded quite a bit, and they probably are still going to expand. That's just how college football and all that landscape is going to be. It's probably going to be the Big Ten and the SEC and all that pretty much. But when it comes to like 18 teams and them thinking about the basketball tournament that they usually throw at the end of the regular season, they're thinking that it's going to be too many games and too much time and probably having too many people to play. I know the ACC kind of has that problem right now because I believe they have 14 teams where Duke plays, but usually they give the top 4 teams record-wise, or at least conference record-wise, in there like at least a bye week or two, so they have a lot of the other teams play each other the first 2 days, and then like on that third day, then the top 4 seeds will play whoever's been winning those other games. So the Big Ten could adopt that as well and still have all the teams playing, but I know they'll probably don't want that too much stuff, or who doesn't want their teams on TV. So they probably will just do something in the form of that. But either way, looking forward to see how USC and the Big Ten is going to work out in the future. And then, yes, sadly, a couple of my teams lost yesterday. The Lakers ended up losing to OKC 110-133, which sucks. They kind of tried their best, but like I said, this was a back-to-back against a younger, most likely fresher team. I don't know if Oklahoma City played the day before as well or not, but they were the home team, and it would have been different if it was at home, maybe, but they were younger, and it just looked like it, so Lakers kind of gave up towards the end. They tried to make a comeback in the fourth, but wasn't enough. And then the Anaheim Ducks did lose as well, 4-5 against the Washington Capitals. It was, I think, like 2-4 they were losing at some point, so they kind of made a comeback, but in the end still lost, which sucks. And then, speaking of X and other players that I would hope come to USC, as I'm reposting Fight On signals, this guy who is a 4-star at some point, an ex-4-star defensive lineman edge from Missouri. His name is DJ Wesselock. Hopefully I'm saying that correct. But I saw that he was available, and I liked the idea of him on USC because he had spent, I believe, 1 year at Missouri, so he had at least 3 more years of eligibility left to be able to play, and obviously he's going to transfer quickly, so he will have the chance to still play those 3 years right away. And just the other day, I looked at my notifications, and sometimes you get likes from most likely random people or bots and people you don't even know. Obviously, my mom pretty much likes everything I repost, which is pretty funny and cool. But I did see a name that looked familiar. I'm like, that kind of looks like one of those players' names that I mentioned. And I click on the profile, and it was the player, DJ Wesselock. So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool that he's looking at repost, and he actually liked the Fight On signal. Obviously, the Fight On signal, as you can see back there, is usually only associated with USC, so of course he probably knows that it was from there. So that would be pretty cool if it ends up coming to fruition that he ends up going to USC, and I had a little bit to do with it. But either way, yeah, it would be pretty cool to have him on the team or not. And just waiting on more news about this transfer portal for both USC and Duke players, and even Duke still hasn't hired a head coach yet. They're probably not going to, because they have that interim head coach right now. They're probably going to see if he's good enough to stay and all that stuff. But I don't know. Should be interesting to see what they end up doing. And obviously, still waiting on USC to make an announcement about their defensive coordinator soon. So we will see. Thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Fight on.